My orchid was doing fine, but then I purchased it. Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome to a new series on my channel entitled Fill in the Blanks with Danny. No, not with my name, but with something else. So last week, I asked you guys to fill in the blanks to the phrase that you see in the title above. First of all, I'm gonna fill in the blanks and I'm gonna tell you how this orchid went from doing fine to not doing fine, and then we're gonna take a look at your comments and see what made your orchids not do fine anymore. Alrighty, so in front of us today, you would not believe what this is. I cannot believe it. It's just my luck. I don't know. I can't. This right here is a Vanda tricolor. Yes, it is a seedling, but not a very young seedling. And if you know me already, you know that the tricolor is on my wish list for ages and ages. From the Middle Ages, I think. I put it on the list that I wanted along with the Sanderiana and the Denisoniana. Got the Denisoniana. I thought I got the tricolor as well, but no, look what happened. This is pretty much dead on arrival. This orchid suffered something quite terrible on transport. It has been attacked by a disease. Now, this orchid spent 6 days on transport. If it were something like dehydration or lack of air, which doesn't really happen because boxes do breathe, then it would simply be dehydrated and very wrinkly, like a raisin. But no, this is actually an infection, and I suspect it is a bacterial infection. And actually, I got it yesterday, and already this leaf is almost gone. It was just half of it gone, but now, as you can see, it's completely destroyed. Only an infection can actually move this fast and cause all of this damage. Because if we take a close look at the leaves, we can see they're not actually wrinkly. Well, let's assume they're still in good condition. They're not wrinkly, and this orchid had roots that actually still green up. But it doesn't mean this orchid will survive because she's currently infected with this bacterial infection. Bacterial infections are usually a little bit different than fungal infections. Those infections tend to produce spots on the leaves that, yes, they still advance. In case of black rot, which is a fungal infection, actually we are dealing with a completely different color. It is, like the name suggests, black, and then it advances. But in our instance, we can see we have a sort of a brownish, dark greenish, yellowish even, yellow-toned type of damage or ailment. And this is the very first case that actually arrives to me like this. So what caused it? Well, pretty much a lot of factors combined. Anytime an orchid is being transported, it does go through a stress. You can imagine it's not pretty funny in that box without a lot of air circulation, without light, without water. All of those things kind of stress an orchid. However, they don't usually stress it enough as to kill it. However, when you pack orchids wet, things are pretty different. Water is actually a perfect medium for bacteria and fungi to accumulate and to do their job. The more water we have in a confined space, the faster the bacterial activity will be as well. So in my case, it was a multitude of things. Actually, it was heat, probably, that stressed the orchid, lack of air, lack of water even, because when I say moisture, I don't necessarily mean a wet medium. It can be on the leaves or trapped in between the leaves or the crown. It's the exact same thing. So the stress weakening this orchid combined with some probably humidity trapped in the package, and of course some bacteria already present, led to the outcome you see in front of you. And I don't know if I mentioned it, this orchid spent 6 days on transport. It's really not a long time considering I had orchids spend 1 month in full summer. I will give it, some of them arrived in such a dehydrated condition that they took a long time to recover. Some of them even died, but this is not the case. My orchid is not dried. It is actually pretty plump. It's just that it suffers from a bacterial infection, and sadly at this point there is nothing I can do. Because even if I control the infection with fungicides or hydrogen peroxide or whatever I might think of, the damage is just so extensive. We have the stem affected, the axis, we have the crown, and the infection managed to get all the way down to the base, so there's pretty much nothing to save from this orchid. Now, there's the good news. I managed to get a replacement for this orchid, which is currently on transport, and it's giving me the heebie-jeebies, really. I really hope it will not have the same fate as this one. because this orchid was 6.5 euros, and I figured, you know what, I want the tricolor, a decent price is only for a seedling. This is not such a small seedling, what the heck, it is now or never. So right now I really hope the next one that will come in will fare better on transport, because I don't know. So yeah, that's my story. So now let's take a look at what you guys responded to the filling the blank challenge, and let's see how your orchid stopped doing fine. Now, reading through the comments, I can clearly see there are two major threats for orchids in our homes, and these are pests and children. As Suzanne says, my orchid was doing fine until my 2-year-old granddaughter came to me and told me, "Nana, I watered your flowers with my Kool-Aid. They looked thirsty." Sadly, they all died, but my granddaughter is still just as pretty and growing like a weed. My orchid was doing fine, but then my baby sister ate its leaves. My cat ate it. The cats found it. Well, considering the other two comments, I think we can all imagine what happened to the orchid. My neighbor's cat peed on it and killed the roots. However much I tried, my orchid finally died. My dog knocked it off the table with her gigantic tail. My orchid was doing fine, but then my dog used it for a chew toy. I think we can all learn from each other here, and the only solution that I see is just to not buy pets or children. And then I see that many of you can actually relate to my story. Sandra and Simos says, my orchid was doing fine at its birthplace till it went into a big department store. My orchid was doing fine, but then I brought it home. Really, new boss decided she didn't like my plants, so everything went home, including a beautiful mini dendrobium that was sending up a dozen flower spikes. Killed it dead. My orchid was doing fine, but then I happened. Now this one is a sad one. My orchid was doing fine, but then I brought her into work, and she realized the soul-crushing sadness of working a 9-to-5 job and dropped all of her blooms. I feel for you, Emily, but Scott has a good solution for you. Change job. My orchid was doing fine until I bought it. Just kidding. Funny. Yeah, you're funny. You're very funny. And then many of you described what appeared to me as perfectly natural disasters. My orchid was doing fine, but then 90 km/h winds all day blew my small cattleya seedling away, never to be found. My orchid was doing fine, but then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. My orchid was doing fine, but then decided to buy tickets to Orchid's Heaven. Oh well, they grow up so fast, they want to go to all sorts of concerts, buy all sorts of tickets, what you gonna do, right? My orchid was doing fine, but then I put it outside to get some rainwater and snails ate all the roots. Well, think about it this way, you fed some poor defenseless snails? Does that work? My orchid was doing fine, but then exams at school happened. That's the epitome of natural disasters, I would say. As you can see, our stories are pretty similar, but that does not mean we are not unique. For example, my orchid was doing fine until I gave it too much love. Alrighty then. My orchid was doing fine, but then the flowers and leaves started to fall off. Yikes. You know, duct tape usually does a good job. My orchid was doing fine until those silly fungi found a cozy place to live. I know, right? Of all the places. My orchid was doing fine, but then Fusarium came visit my collection. Lock the doors, hide the key, and I also recommend surveillance from now on. My orchid was doing fine, but then she realized her new flowers were not blue anymore. She's devastated, her identity shattered. All that she knew was a lie. You know what? I'll give you a phone number to a doctor. My orchid was doing fine, but then I went on vacation and my mom watered it. My orchid was doing fine. Then someone told me to put a few ice cubes in the pot to water it. Then I started putting 3 ice cubes a day on top of the medium, right next to the crown. Worst marketing idea ever. Don't feel all that bad. When I was tiny, I fed my chickens ice cubes because they were hot. Although in my case, the chickens were perfectly fine after. Emma says, my orchid was doing fine, but then I put it in full waterculture. Amanda says, same here. You would think I'd learn from one dying in waterculture. No, I've killed 3. Faraway says, waterculture really depends on the orchid and the environment. Aw, you spoiled the fun. This was not supposed to be a logical video. I have to say, you guys made me laugh a lot. You're pretty amazing and very creative. Therefore, today we have a new challenge for next week. So I have a new phrase for you that you have to fill in the blanks. And this week it shall be, I thought I saw a flower spike on my orchid. But then, and here's where you have to fill in the blanks. So I'm curious to see what the universe will come up with next. Alrighty guys, so thank you so much for watching this video. Hope it made you laugh. I'm not happy about this, don't get me wrong, but hey, what can you do? Might as well make fun of it, right? So if the forces of the universe will ever let me have tricolor, most probably will be next week. I'll let you know what happens. Hopefully we're not gonna do another one of these videos next week as well. So you know the drill. If you've enjoyed this video and actually enjoyed this series, let me know down below, either through a like or a comment. A share would be fabulous, and if you'd like to see orchid videos from me on a regular basis, simply subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!